Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome this morning to Selling Online with Effective E-commerce Part 2. My name is Darren McSherry. I'm going to take you through this morning's webinar. And the purpose of being here this morning is part of the Retail Recovery Programme, whereby the 6 colleges of further education working with Retail NI have developed a range of support programmes to support the industry as they move through the pandemic restrictions into recovery in the year ahead. The Retail Recovery Programme includes a series of webinars and contextualised qualifications, and SRC are delivering ILM Leadership Management Level 3 qualification tailored to the retail sector, alongside an Instagram Retails for Retail webinar on Thursday the 26th of August. So stay tuned for that additional webinar. So let's make a start. This morning's agenda, I'm going to be focused on an insight into leading e-commerce platforms and systems. So we're going to have a brief look at that. Then we're moving into the practical side and practical tips on managing your e-commerce website, followed by 7 top tips to generate customer awareness, ending with 6 useful automation tools and third-party integrations that I would recommend you certainly look at and consider. Just a little bit on me. As I said, my name is Darren McSherry. I'm an e-commerce specialist with the SRC Business Support and Innovation team, supporting small to medium businesses through a variety of different support programs that the college deliver. A little bit more detail on that later on with my colleague Sarah. I'm also a chartered marketeer with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I've 20 years experience working at various industry sectors, PLC level, luxury brands, as well as working with small to medium businesses as well on a consultancy basis as well. And I have a breadth of experience across a number of industry sectors. I'm also professionally recognized there by, as I said, the Chartered Institute of Marketing and the Chartered Management Chartered Management Institute as well. So firstly, we're going to take a look at e-commerce platforms. I think it's important just to look at 3 of what I would, in my opinion, qualify as being the main e-commerce software platforms to consider, and look at it from a hierarchy perspective, starting with a simple platform, which would be Shopify. I'm hoping and expecting that many of you would have heard of Shopify. And it's really designed for DIY and do-it-yourself, really, where you have little to no requirement, depending on your skill set, for third-party support, depending on how you build that and what your aspirations are going to be in terms of an e-commerce site. A moderate program or software, would be WooCommerce. WooCommerce is part of WordPress. And the beauty about WordPress and WooCommerce, they are they're owned together, so they're very compatible, and they're free as well. Whereas, like say Shopify, you do have to pay a monthly fee, and that can grow over time. A more complex e-commerce solution would be Magento, and that would really be enterprise level, large business software solution. But really, Shopify and WooCommerce, for the large part, for many businesses, small to medium businesses, are more than adequate and fit for purpose. It's important to note these are 3 of the main e-commerce software solutions. There are others, but these would be 3 that I would be working with and have plenty of experience with. So you should certainly take a look at some of these. If some of these are new to you, then certainly take a look at them. Let's delve a little bit closer and take a look at the market share of these leading e-commerce software platforms to consider others as well. So what we're looking at here is worldwide. And as I noted, WordPress program, which is WooCommerce, takes just shy of 24%. So there's a fraction of percent between that and Squarespace. I anticipate that will change if it hasn't changed already. These statistics are from April 2021, so I expect WooCommerce will, if not already, take market leading position globally. Wix stores you may have heard of as well. I would probably say that's more of an entry level, even less than Shopify from a Wix perspective. We see Shopify there globally with just shy of 4%. And we also see Magento, which is just shy of 2.5% globally. Again, Magento is an enterprise level solution for very large businesses. Just to touch on payment methods, I know this has been a big area of interest from businesses that I've been working with the college, and looking at transactions worldwide. Digital and mobile wallets are by far the market leader from a customer perspective, as well as buy now, pay later. Now, in terms of digital and mobile wallets, I'm referring to the likes of Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal. You will all be very familiar with those, with mobile devices, with Google and Apple. PayPal as well is a very important one, and customers would use those three. And that really contributes towards the large growth of digital and mobile wallets, and that's set to continue into 2024 and beyond. The buy now, pay later, I've identified these two for the reasons being the growth that has occurred, and the consumer use, and the integration across small to medium businesses, as well as larger businesses as such as well. And buy now, pay later, when I refer to that, I'm referring to the likes of Klarna, ClearPay, PayPal, who have entered the buy now, pay now later market as well. And Klarna and ClearPay and PayPal would be the three main ones out there. There are others. There is other retailers that offer various credit facilities, and that's subject to individual circumstances and retail criteria. Just to touch on the growth of mobile commerce, and this is the forecast for the market size. And really, I wanted to just touch on this to just show you the growth that is very demonstrable here and happening beyond 2020 and the next 2-3 years ahead, and that's only being fast-tracked as a result of COVID. But the market was growing rapidly, and that's set to continue. Focused on the payment methods, I wanted to draw attention to this. We've touched on the digital wallets, the PayPal, the Apple Pay, the Google Pay. Bank transfer, interestingly, in 2019 is sitting there with just 5% of payment split. But really, what I wanted to show was we've seen digital wallet and the increase, but bank transfer is and continues to be an area of growth. And it seems to be looking at the industry and looking at customers and looking at businesses as well, because customers have been at home, and the growth of mobile devices, ever with consumers, and the growth of online banking. That's really contributed to the ease of bank transfer when shopping online. So what I'm going to get into the practical side now, after really just looking at the market and some of the core areas in terms of software and payment methods. The premise and the assumptions going to make moving forward from here is I'm going to focus on WordPress and WooCommerce. Now, some of the practical and tips and tricks I'm going to show you, they are applicable to other software solutions, so they are transferable. But for the purposes of this presentation this morning and the content, I'm going to be focused on WordPress and WooCommerce. And the premise, I'm going to assume that you guys, as business owners and working within business, you either have an existing e-commerce website, you're considering moving from, say, Shopify to WooCommerce or BigCommerce or another platform, or indeed you're still on the fence with deciding, is e-commerce the right time for our business to really invest and get our online strategy moving. Hopefully most of you are maybe in the other two regards, existing or replatforming. If you're still on the fence, it's not the end of the world. There's fantastic support out there to help you fast track your business online very, very quickly. So what I'm going to look at now is best practice for managing your e-commerce website. And what I'm going to deliver here and show you is 7 top tips to generate customer awareness. And these tips, I've used them in business and in my career, working within marketing departments, working with businesses with the SRC, and as a consultant for many years. And these are just 7 tips that I would recommend. I'm going to focus on user experience and website speed, and this is important, and we'll go through that as to why. So having a fast website is vitally important. the whole user experience and customer shopping online, the customer's impatient. Other websites are fast. The whole experience, we've got 4G, be 5G in some cases, although maybe in the UK market hasn't quite matured as yet, but 4G, we are all accustomed to fast websites and fast internet. So to ensure that your website, an e-commerce website, is performing as it should be and to its maximum, you can and have to ensure that your updates, your software updates are in place. So in this example, I'm referring to WordPress and WooCommerce. The software updates, I would put them in the context of think about your own phone. So many of you will have Google or Apple phones. Google will have software updates to your phone. So that optimizes the user experience for you, as well as the speed, as well as features. Similarly, Apple do the same. So we all know about Apple updates for Apple phones. Some are positive, some are negative, some may have bugs, but the long story short here is ensure that you have your software, your e-commerce software is up to date, in this case for WordPress. Consider your hosting partner. Your hosting partner can have a massive impact and influence on the speed of your website. So there's a whole choice of hosting partners out there that you can choose from, who effectively will ensure that your website is published online, is performing, is fast, is equipped to do what it needs to do. And of those suppliers, some of them will have a handful of packages, some will have maybe a dozen packages. There's incredible flexibility with hosting, and that's important. So we will look at that a little bit later on, but having a hosting provider that is fit for purpose and accommodates your traffic levels and the level of support that you need is vitally important. Optimizing product images for your website. So with any website or any e-commerce website for that matter, when you're uploading, and I've seen this in business as well, you know, you get fantastic imagery, whether they're free or you purchase them from Adobe or Shutterstock or any of those suppliers. When you do download them, you can get them as high resolution files, but those high resolution files can be very, very big. Unless you choose the right download, or unless you compress those images and you upload them in a high resolution format, the file size when it's uploaded, hopefully the software will preempt that and see that the file size is too big, but that doesn't always happen. And when you upload a large image, it can be very, very slow for the customer to download and to see and to load on the website, and it can slow down the website dramatically if you've got too many of those, or indeed one of those on your homepage. Plugins and integrations, be very, very careful. We're going to focus on this later on, some of the recommended plugins and integrations that I would recommend that are credible and been tested and tried and, you know, established in the marketplace. But it's very easy to be experimental, particularly if you're doing and you're looking after the e-commerce website yourself in-house, to be experimental and to try new plugins. Because there's access to integrations and third parties, and some of them, most of them will be free in some cases. They're not necessarily the right fit for your website. Some of them will have integration issues, some of them haven't been tested, some of them can actually break your website, or they can negatively impact on the functionality of your website. So I would be just careful and consider, do your research, or speak to your website partner, or indeed some of the team at SRC regards plugins, or indeed let's look at this later on in terms of the plugins that I would be recommending. Test your website speed regularly, and this is important. When I put an asterisk on this just to draw attention to this, this is important and how it can be done. I'm going to show you how it can be done. But why does this matter in terms of overarching website speed and customer experience? Well, if we look at what Google tells us and what we know in terms of customer expectations and the speed, 77% of smartphone shoppers are more likely to purchase from companies whose mobile sites or applications allow them to make a purchase quickly. 77%. So it really just underlines the importance of making sure that your site is fast. How? So let's have a focus on how do you test your website speed. Now, there's other software solutions out there, and there's other free tools that you can have, but I would refer to Google. And Google, because Google has a monopoly on the search market, it's always best to benchmark with Google because, as I said, they're going to have 95, 97% of search overall globally. End of, full stop. So Think with Google is a tool that I would recommend. And as you can see here, it allows you to improve your mobile speed. So you put in your web address, it will churn out an analysis report. It will show you details on your site speed. So in this case, this website here in particular is showing that it's loading a little bit slow at just sub 5 seconds. And really it should be sitting at maybe 2 to 3 seconds. It's important to note that web speed can be variable. So as a recommendation, I would say that it's worth monitoring and measuring that regularly as part of your weekly, monthly benchmarking and operational practices. So this is a free tool, Think with Google. Now there is a list of resources at the end of this presentation, which you will get a copy of, and it will link to where you can actually benefit from this free tool. There is another tool, more of a developer tool, is Page Speed Insights. Again, that's by Google. And this one's very comprehensive as well. And you can see, hopefully you can see on the slide there in the top left-hand corner, it gives you a mobile and a desktop experience. So it will give you a report respective to the mobile experience or indeed the desktop. Let me just go back to that. Important to note, I'm only showing a little snippet here of the report itself. But what it does show, you will find when you go in and put your web address in, it will give you a detailed report. Now, some of it will be technical, some of it won't be technical, some of it will be easy to address, some of it won't be. But what this gives you is a state of the nation where you are now, and it tells you what you need to do to fix it, and how you fix it then is on you, whether it be you investigate that yourself or indeed you work with a third party to do that. Moving on, top tip number 2 would be get personal with your customer. And great ways to do this is to personalize your advertising and really reach out to them so that it's not a volume game. You can have volume, but you can certainly personalize your messaging. So email marketing is a great way to do that. I'm sure many of you are getting email marketing on a daily, weekly basis from various third parties and retailers that you buy from or engage with, or indeed valuable custom to. And they will start with Dear Darren, Dear Sarah, or depending on the nature of the business, it could be Dear Mr. McSherry if it's from a banking perspective. But I mean, get personal. So set the scene from the outset with email marketing. Facebook dynamic ads, this takes a different approach, whereby if I'm on shopping on a business website, say for instance, we'll stay with the example of trainers. Say I'm shopping on the Nike or Adidas websites. There are other trainers, of course, but say I'm on looking for a new pair of black trainers or white trainers for training. I'm on shopping, I spend maybe 5-10 minutes on looking at different trainers. I decide to end my browsing session, I leave, I close the computer, I maybe go back later in the evening. Then effectively it will recognize me as a web visitor to that site. It will recognize that, and it will record that I've been looking at trainers, white or black. So what it'll do when I'm back on the internet and I'm browsing through maybe other websites, or on Facebook, it will present relevant adverts for black or white trainers from Nike or Adidas or whatever the website was I was looking at. So it's really, the purpose of that is for me to re-engage in the purchase, the buyer purchase process, and really re-engage, go back to the site and purchase. This one could be quite controversial, depending on what quarter of the business you're in or what sector, but in my experience, live chat is a fantastic facility to have on your website, and we'll have a look at some live chat examples, and I'd be interested to hear what you and your businesses have experienced with live chat. And what I say about live chat is there is bot chats out there which are preloaded answers. So it's a robot that answers the questions of the customer. Now, I say live chat would be my preference, and in the industry, it would be my preference because I find it to be customers respond more to that, and I'm seeing more and more human. So when you put a human into the chat itself, chatbot, then obviously an advisor will step in because the chatbot maybe isn't fit for purpose or doesn't have the answer to the question. Chatbots are definitely growing, but in my experience, live chat would be more beneficial. Not saying no outright to chatbot, but I'm just saying not yet. But let's look at that and maybe talk that one through, maybe in one of the Q&A sessions we have later on. Telecoms, again, from a personal perspective, there's great software solutions out there which will integrate with your existing telephone systems. Some of them are very cost effective. I've seen some in some small businesses that I've been working with, and they're very, very cost effective. I'm talking like, you know, they're not even a couple £100 to invest, whereas you can obviously go for the enterprise level ones that could cost you hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. But effectively what this does is when I, as a customer, ring through to a business, I ring through for the first time, I may be a new business, a new customer. The business will engage with me. How can I help you? Find out what exactly the purpose of the call, and that'll connect into the likes of, one example I've looked at is it'll connect in with your Outlook, so you can create a customer record off the back of the telephone, which is synchronized to Outlook, and you record the customer details. So the next time I ring through, the business will see Darren McSherry's calling through. The business can answer and say, good morning, Mr. McSherry. This is Stephen at X Business. How can I help you? That personalized experience goes a long way, and it is great in terms of personalized the shopping experience. Obviously, I've caveat that with data protection. You have to take various best practice to ensure that you have permission and consent to record and engage with customers. But that's maybe for another day. And personalization across various touch points is important. You know, get as much personalization as you can across all the touch points that your customer will engage with. These are only several, so think about how you can personalize that shopping experience for that customer. Why does this matter? Why is this important? People are 40% more likely to spend more than planned when they identify that the shopping experience to be highly personalized. So that's a significant percentage to influence, and particularly if they're going to spend more than they originally planned. So it's worth investing, and as a strategy, I would certainly recommend that. Customer remarketing, this is an example here. There's different remarketing and retargeting, but let's look at Google. The principle here is, as I explained earlier on the left of this is I'm the prospect. I go to your website. The prospect is then tracked. The prospect as the customer leaves, and then the advert for the business is presented on other websites back to the prospect and the customer with a view to getting them back into the buying and shopping experience on your website. There's different types to remarket with Google. There's standard remarketing, which shows ads to your past web visitors as they browse sites and apps on the Google Display Network. There's also remarketing lists for search ads, which shows ads to your past visitors as they carry out follow-up searches for what they need on Google after leaving your website. Video remarketing focuses and shows ads to people who have interacted with your video or YouTube channel as they use YouTube and browse Display Network videos, websites and applications. And finally, customer list remarketing is with Customer Match, where you can upload lists of customers and their information that you have on your customers that have given you and you have consent to use. And what you can do there is, with those people that are signed into Google, you can show them specific ads across different Google products and platforms. So again, personalization opportunities using Google and Google's tools. Customer remarketing through Facebook is another opportunity. What this does is it reaches audience who already know you. So you're going to be effectively advertising to people who have visited your website, app, shop, or indeed Facebook page. Again, personalization opportunity with every ad for every customer automatically. And this uses, in this case, with likes of, and this can be done with others, but I'll just focus on WordPress and WooCommerce for a moment, whereby you have your product catalog on your e-commerce website for WordPress and WooCommerce. You can synchronize that with your Facebook page and effectively show dynamic adverts that show to people that it's appropriate to what they've been looking for. It's relevant, it's timely. So it only shows appropriate adverts to that customer that they have been looking at or considering. So it's very, very personal. And also the benefit of this, it keeps your loyal customers coming back. So it builds brand loyalty, and it shows best practice for you as a business and to your customers, and it focuses on that personalization that we were talking about earlier. First step, so if we want to look at Facebook remarketing, first step that I would recommend is to really just see where you are. So what I would recommend here is go to the Google Chrome store. This is probably one of the easiest ways to find out if your existing e-commerce website is equipped for Facebook remarketing and retargeting. So go to the Google Chrome store. It's like the Apple app library or Google library for applications, only it's for Google and Chrome. Put it into the search. It'll take you through to the Google Chrome web store, which you really don't need an account or anything for. Obviously, you need to be logged in as a Gmail user, and search for the Facebook Pixel Helper. And what that does, in this case here, I've got it actually on my computer. So on the right-hand side, it says remove from Chrome. But if I didn't have it, it would say install onto Chrome. So what it does on this computer, this screen grab, up in the top right-hand side, you can see a little tool. And this little tool, when you click on it, it shows whether the Facebook Pixel is actually on your website. In this case, for this website, it is. So if you don't know the answer to the question, go to the Chrome store, download it onto your Chrome, go and check it out, see if you have it. If you don't, then take the next steps. Speak to us at SRC, speak to your web provider, ask some questions as to why it's not there, and let's explore getting that on for you, because it's a highly effective way for marketing and driving sales, which I would highly recommend you do. Next tip, delivering returns. Always have clear communication, ref your lead time with your customers. Have reasonable delivery pricing. Otherwise, if you're overpricing on that, customers, in my experience, can be very price sensitive regards delivery, and consider the experience they have with other websites and other businesses that they buy from. Reduce your shipping zones. Your shipping zones are, in regard to that, a zone would be, say, you might have Northern Ireland, then you might have the Republic of Ireland, then you might have England, you might have Scotland, you might have Europe, you might have North America. They all could quite easily qualify as individual shipping zones. And with individual shipping zones, you can set appropriate shipping costs. If you have too many of those, it can maybe get confusing. So I know working with businesses, there's a lot of thought into the process of shipping, because you've got small products, medium, large, extra large, and shipping costs, as we all know and see in the media, is increasing as a result of customer demand and as a result of COVID. I will also say consider free shipping. The likes of, there's retailers out there, very successful retailers. One comes to mind, the likes of ASOS, where you can pay for unlimited deliveries. I think it's like 10, 14, 15 pounds a year, and you get unlimited deliveries and returns, for that matter. So consider that. Is that appropriate, and is that feasible for your business? Over communicate with the customer. So when the order is being received through your e-commerce website, over communicate with them. And if your website, your e-commerce website's configured in the right way, this all should be done automatically. So the communication from order receipt, dispatch, on its way, delivered, the opportunity is within your e-commerce website to configure that accordingly, so that you do over communicate. So it takes the guesswork out and removes the guesswork for the customer. Offer free returns. As I said, that other retailer, ASOS, comes to mind, very successful. There's other retailers out there as well that offer free returns. Obviously there's T's and C's, and there's time constraints with that, be it with 28 days or whatever the case might be, but certainly it's worth considering free returns. So delivering returns, why does this matter? I'll put this up and I'll just dwell on it for a moment. 61% of shoppers will abandon their cart if shipping, taxes and other fees are too high. So hence why I said pay attention to your shipping charges and your classifications and your zones. 53% of shoppers say that speed of delivery is an important factor when it comes to evaluating their online orders. I know as a consumer, as well as working with businesses and speaking with customers, their customers, working with clients, that if there's nothing worse than over promising and under delivering. So if you have it in stock, it's in stock. It has to be in stock. It's not a case of it's in stock and then going back to customers saying we don't have it, we need to get it, and there's a lead time of this, that, the other. So delivery and actual stock is important. 38% of shoppers will never shop with a retailer again if they've had a poor delivery experience. So nearly 40% of customers would walk away and not use your business again if they've had a bad experience. So it's worth doing it right. It's worth spending the time on delivery and returns, because the expectation is, if we look at the biggest, look at Amazon Prime, think about yourself when you order on Amazon, your items, over communication, they will tell you it's dispatched, when it's coming. They'll even give you a time, whether it be an AM, a 2-hour slot, an afternoon. They over communicate and they do it really, really well. 25% of shoppers have cancelled an order because of slow delivery speeds. So be accurate from the outset. Manage customer expectations at product detail page level. When the customer is considering buying that, make sure that your lead times are accurate. So that way you're not going to get into these situations where customers won't come back to you or have a poor experience. Customer reviews. Customer reviews, in my experience here, I've seen businesses shy away from customer reviews for various reasons. I've seen businesses be very proactive and see the opportunity with customer reviews. For me, I would always say to businesses, embrace customer reviews, have it as part of your strategy. One of the big ones here, free opportunity, is your Google reviews, part of your Google My Business listing. Great opportunity. You've got your star ratings, which is the conventional way of getting customer reviews and using that star rating to your advantage for marketing. Facebook reviews, similarly, again, you've got your star ratings. Customers can leave verbatim and narrative there on their experience with you as a retailer and as a business. Again, it's free. From a paid perspective, you've got the likes of Review, which is very prevalent in the retail sector. Again, that's a paid for platform, and it goes. The reason it's paid for, it goes over and above your standard reviews, and certainly maybe if you're considering paid reviews, it's certainly worth a look and whether it's appropriate for your business. Trustpilot reviews, again, will be a competitor of Review. Again, there's different selling points to each of these platforms. They offer various features and functionality and reasons as to why you should consider them and use them within your business strategy and online strategy. And the opportunity as well for any e-commerce website, if configured correctly, it does leave the opportunity for customers to leave reviews on the actual product listing itself. So on the web page for the particular product, it will show star ratings, it will show customer feedback. And again, I would always encourage that, because statistically, and in my experience as well, and within the industry, if you've got positive reviews, people feel more reassured, they trust, and it's on the page, so it's gonna encourage and maximize your conversion rate for sales on the website itself. Why does that matter? Well, let's just follow on that point regards conversion. 92% of customers read online reviews before buying. 92%. So a massive opportunity. If they're not reading your reviews, they're reading somebody else's reviews, or they're going to another business who is more transparent about their reviews, their product, etc., etc. 90% would look at an online review as important as a personal recommendation. Again, 90%. These are massive figures. 57% of customers say reviews are extremely or very important when influencing their decision to buy. Massive, huge opportunity. Putting customer reviews on sales pages, so on the product page itself, increased sale conversions by 34%. So I'll leave those figures there for a moment, let you have a look at them. I think they speak for themselves and maybe gives you some food for thought as to why you should embrace a customer review strategy. Top tip number 6 would be search engine optimization, known as SEO. Investing time in SEO is important. The SEO strategy itself is made up of a number of facets. So your keyword research to find the types of keywords customers are searching for on Google. There's tools for that. Google has a keyword tool. It'll tell you volume. It'll tell you competitiveness. It will tell you bidding. It will tell you where the customers are searching on Google relative to your business, relative to your sector, relative to your product. Site architecture based on your keyword research. So the integration of keywords into your website, your e-commerce website, presents an SEO opportunity. The benefit of that is that Google, when it scans your website daily, multiple times daily, your keywords, if it's relevant, it's appropriate, it's timely, then Google's going to like that, and it's going to show up your results to Google, or show your results, excuse me, on Google to the customer. Again, on page SEO, we're going to look at this later on and some of the practical tips. I'll show you how to do that. On page SEO, again, using keywords in your meta tags and your content. And again, I'll show you how to do that shortly. The tactical SEO, again, as I said earlier on, Google does scan your website daily. So the more efficient you are with ticking the boxes for the technical competency and setting that up, the better it is for Google. And if they can find you, Google can present your results, your website, your products to possible new customers. Again, I'll show you how to do that here shortly. Content marketing, blogs, news pages, particularly on the likes of WooCommerce and WordPress, they index very, very quickly. Think about your own experience on Google when you go searching. It depends on what you search for, of course, but more often than not, when you see at the top of Google, you'll see, take an account of paid adverts for a moment, but when you look at organic, so natural results in Google, you will see news articles, you will see from various third parties. They do appear. For instance, if you're watching a football match, what time is the football match on, or and you pose a question about something relevant in your life, there will be pages on there. There will be news and blogs that are indexed very, very quickly. So it's a great opportunity to, as part of an SEO strategy, to have content marketing. And again, news and blogs is only a couple of facets you can consider. There's others, video, for instance, as well. Link building, so third parties, think about if you're a retailer and you have wholesaler relationships, linking in with third parties, whether that be media outlets, whether that be advertising third parties, whether that be news sites, whether that be online directories. Link building is web links back to your website from third-party websites. So effectively, Google likes that, because what that does is it builds credibility for your website, for your business, because if you're linked to third parties who are also credible, then it gives your business more credibility with Google itself, and it's another one of those tick boxes that builds your authority on Google and your credibility. Measuring your SEO success is important, because if you can't measure it, the 6 points above are kind of, it falls into the realms of guesswork. And to do that, there's Google Analytics, which is free, which I'm not going to show you today, but I'll show you the paid option in terms of another tool which I've used, which is SEMRush. And again, having a measurement plan, you have to benchmark where you are now, have clear objectives where you want to get to, and then measure that accordingly to know that you're making progress to getting where you need to be. Let's take a look at that in a few moments. So the free SEO tool with WordPress, what you're seeing here is a plugin integration in WordPress called Yoast. And Yoast you can integrate in with your e-commerce website. And what it shows you here is effectively a traffic light system. We don't have any ambers here, but we've got greens and reds. So the green is good work, the reds are problems, and if there was ambers here, the ambers would say it needs improvement. So this is a very prescriptive, straightforward way for businesses, small to medium businesses, to use SEO and go, okay, how do I improve, in this case, a particular web page? I've blocked out in red above there who this client is, for obvious reasons, but it's a very, very straightforward way of learning how to do that, and it tells you how to do it, and then it gives you the ability within the actual website itself in WooCommerce and WordPress to fix this. And then as you fix it, you get more greens, reduce the reds, and then you're in a good place. The paid search SEO tool I was referring to with SEM, there are others out there, SEMRush, there are others, of course, but it's a massive opportunity, and you can go on there for a free trial, go in, have a look at it, read up on it, see what you think. But in this case, this is one aspect of the report which is available. So what it gives you is at the top there, you've got 5 domains or web addresses. You would put in your own web address and put in 4 of your competitors. And what that gives you, it gives you a benchmark of total backlinks in this case. This is only one report, one simple report. There are expansive areas to this backlink report, and will give you where these backlinks are, where your competitors are proactive, where they're not, the credibility of those backlinks, for instance, and it will benchmark them over time. So in this case, I've run that over a course of several years, and really this shows you progress, or be it not progress, for those that you're benchmarking against. To also look at, what the paid tool will give you. You can see there what it shows. There's a dashboard. You've got domain overview, traffic analysis, organic SEO, backlink, which we've looked at, keyword gap analysis. You can really delve into keyword research there under those 5 or 6 areas. And again, your link building strategy, you can look into that as well. You can go a step further, look at your local SEO, look at your advertising opportunity, look at your social media. Powerful tools, and your competitive research in terms of what your competitors are doing or not doing. And to go a step further on this as well, you can link it up with your free Google Analytics tool, which will add another dimension of even more powerful insights. And the powerful insights will give you meaningful results and meaningful actions to give you confidence in your strategy and what you're doing, what you're not doing, and where the opportunities and where the gaps are. Number 7, we looked at live chat earlier on, and I'd be interested to hear what some of the businesses have to say on this. But I mean, there's paid for options out there, but one I would recommend there is Facebook Messenger. The customer uses it. Facebook is still out and out the market leader for social media platform, be it Instagram and others are fast on the coattails, but because Facebook's been out there for so long, it's still the main social media channel of choice, not only in the UK, but globally and beyond. So integrating this into your WordPress and your WooCommerce site is very, very straightforward. It's a free plugin. It can be added to the site with reasonably quick. It can be configured with your brand colors, and importantly, what it'll do, it'll come through on your mobile phone. So if your business page is connected up, which I hope and expect it is, I'm sure it is, your notifications and anything that's connected to your messenger, and in this case, your e-commerce website, customers are on there on a product page and they're asking questions, it'll come through to your phone and you can engage and answer those questions with the customer wherever you are, on the move, away from the office, in the office, out of hours, whatever the case may be. But equally, what it gives you is an opportunity to integrate aspects of the chatbot as well. So you can pre-program on the messenger to say, okay, here is preloaded answers. So for instance, what are your opening hours? What is your returns policy? Frequently asked questions are easily managed in that regard, but it's like anything, if you put rubbish in, you get rubbish out. So I think the chatbot, you have to look at that and see and assess that whether that's right for your business and what the questions are going to be. But more often than not, I would encourage the live chat within business hours, or indeed whenever there's social media spikes and campaigns, is to be monitoring that and engaging with customers accordingly, or indeed managing their expectations with automatic replies. Why does this matter? Live chat has the highest satisfaction levels for any customer service channel, with 73% compared with likes of 61% for email and 44% for phone. So speed, managing expectations, engaging with customers, all of that's important, as we talked about earlier on. Over communicating with customers, the ease of communication. Think about other retailers, global, regional, local competitors. I'm sure you've all used live chat or chat bots, and to varying levels of success and frustration as well, I'm sure. So the live chat is certainly worth considering as a customer service tool, as an engagement tool for helping sales and conversion. At this stage, I'm just going to take a little pause. I'm just going to ask if there's any questions at this stage regards to the content we've covered this morning thus far. I'm open to taking any questions.
Thank you, Darren, and good morning, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying the webinar so far, and I'm sure you'll agree the wealth of knowledge already is just amazing. Yeah, so we're just going to take a few questions now. So if you've any, just type them into the wee question box and Darren will answer them for you. And likewise, if you have any questions throughout the rest of the webinar, just pop them in and we'll address them at the end. Yeah, so first question is, can you run through Facebook Pixel Helper again briefly? It sounds like something very useful.
Okay. What I'll do, I'll go back to the slide. I think it's important to go back to the slide. So let's go back. I just scan across here. Important to note, just while I'm doing that, there will be links at the end of the presentation, which will give you links to this. So the Facebook Pixel. So the purpose of this is to establish first and foremost if a Facebook Business Manager account has been set up. When you set up a Facebook Business Manager, part of the setup process will be Facebook, once it's configured, you go through the steps. It will give you what's called the Facebook Pixel. And this is a little snippet of code that you put in the header section of your e-commerce website, or your website for that matter. That's a manual process. You can do it manually and take that code and just copy and paste it and add it in and ensure it's working. Once that's added in, you can go on and test whether it's working and firing. But Facebook, the Business Manager will actually tell you if it's firing data, if it's live, if it's active, if it's being used. And that way, then the Facebook Pixel, you can validate that it's on your website, as shown here in this slide. If it is on your website, then you're moving into step 2 of that, is that you're configuring your Facebook Business Manager, you're opening up, putting your payment details for your advert manager, and you're really just progressing the whole Business Manager suite with Facebook, that then presents you with opportunities for synchronizing up your product catalog, for dynamic adverts, for using content and your products for like carousel ads. So it opens up a whole advertising suite, an opportunity for businesses that goes over and above your sort of standard posts and your boost posts, and which are really for really more awareness, you know, and have their limitations in terms of doing a quick Facebook boost itself. This opens up a whole new avenue of marketing. So go onto the Chrome store. So I just lost the slide. Go onto the Chrome store. Let me get back to it here. Not without success here getting back to it, but go to the Chrome store. The link will be in the resources at the end of the slide deck. You can go in, you can download that, add that to your Chrome, but certainly I would highly recommend, if not already, go and progress the Business Manager, the Facebook Business Manager, the Advert Manager, the Pixel, the integration. Go and have a look at that, or better still, reach out to the college, and there's support opportunities there for you through the college. But it's definitely worth exploring and developing from your side. Hopefully that answers some of the questions. If there's anything else you want me to expand on for that, you know, please do let me know.
Perfect, thank you, Darren. Just have a couple more questions there. In relation to mobile commerce, what would the difference between mobile and app purchases?
Mobile commerce is obviously done on your mobile device. Apps are slightly different. They're done, yes, on your mobile device, but they're done through a pre-designed application. So mobile commerce would be still out and out the market leader for customer purchases and customer experience. So we're talking, maybe last figures I seen was probably 65%, circa 65% of all online e-commerce purchases are done via mobile website, followed then by apps. So apps, you're probably in around 35-40%. Depend on region globally. Different markets are more mature. It's not to say that purchases aren't made on a laptop or a browser. There still is a high percentage of those. Again, it's going to be it's going to be appropriate for whatever, like the UK, in this case of the UK and Ireland, you can say then mobile commerce is by far out and out the leader. Applications would be second to that. Not every business can have applications. There's a cost involved, but what I would say for the likes of applications for businesses, I would say, why would you want an application? Establish the why first, in terms of the strategy, because in terms of mobile commerce, you will find that in most cases, the mobile commerce and the mobile e-commerce website will meet most of the needs, if done correctly, than that of a custom application.
Perfect, that's great. Just one last question at the minute anyway. What should I be considering as important criteria for choosing a host supplier?
Good question. From a hosting perspective, what I would say is consider the level of support that you as a business would need. Various support packages, you can do them yourself, completely standalone. So you buy the hosting package. Some will offer a level of support, whether it be phone support, live chat support, email support. So consider how technically competent you are and what your needs are going to be. If you need sort of more support, and you're going to be leaning heavily on the vendor or the hosting partner, then you probably want to consider upweighting your hosting to include some form of support package. Another consideration I would is you have to accurately, as much as you can, estimate how much traffic levels you're expecting on your website. Because really what you're thinking about there and how it's actually measured is speed and data and delivery of hosting. So if you're going to have tens of thousands of people on your website every day, then you're kind of going to need a very decent hosting package, and you're probably leaning more towards, in that scenario, of cloud services, which would be higher up the food chain in terms of hosting provider. One example of that would be AWS, Amazon Web Services, which is cloud-based hosting. And an advantage to that, in a case of where you've got high volume web traffic, is that you can scale very, very quickly with those cloud services, and they're super reliable. Plus there's fail safes there as well. So if there's multiple servers running in the background, if you're at capacity in one, depending on how you set that up, then other servers can kick in depending on web traffic. So if you have tens of thousands and you go up to hundreds of thousands, then that scalability is there. From a small business point of view, there's hosting packages there that a couple of £100 a year, which are more than adequate. If you're talking hundreds of visitors a day, or maybe several thousand visitors a month, it really depends on largely the level of traffic and demand that's going to be on your website itself, on your e-commerce website. So those would be three of the criteria I would be saying: is the level of support, the website traffic expected, as well as the scale of your business in terms of, okay, is it international customers you have, therefore you're likely to have a large volume of customers coming from different geographic areas globally. So those would be three of the criteria that I would certainly be considering when considering a hosting partner.
Great, thank you very much, Darren. I think that's all the questions for now, but as I say, if you have any questions throughout the rest of the webinar, just pop them in that wee box and we'll get back to them at the end. Okay,
thank you, Amy. Thanks, guys, for those questions. Moving into the final stage of the webinar this morning, I'm going to look at 6 of useful automation tools and third-party integrations that I've used and that I would recommend you certainly look at and consider as part of your e-commerce strategy. And first one up would be Google Sitekit by Google Analytics. It includes Analytics, Search Console, and AdSense, and your speed testing that we covered earlier on in the webinar. And again, this can be integrated into your site, so it will give you analytics in terms of customer visits, engagement, bounce rate, Search Console in terms of the SEO, in terms of technical problems you may have, recommendations, areas for improvement, and again, you've got your site speed there as well. And importantly, these plugins, they're all on the one dashboard, so they can be integrated in. They're very credible, they're very informative, and yeah, I would certainly recommend Google first and foremost. Second one I would look at would be Mailchimp for WooCommerce. Mailchimp is an email marketing software provider. So effectively, it's free up to, last time I looked at it, I think it was 1,000 or 1,500 customers. So once you go beyond that threshold, then you're into a paid account, which again is still very reasonable. But what you can do here, when your customers are purchasing and they're registering for accounts on your e-commerce website, in this case, WooCommerce, then it will integrate, it will sync those customers across to your Mailchimp account. So it just means that you're not managing data in two separate platforms. And again, you'll have all the visibility and reporting that you will need, and the ability to synchronize and integrate your online shop with your email marketing software. Next up is Facebook for WooCommerce. This will provide you the opportunity to synchronize your products that's on your e-commerce store with your Facebook shop, and it will give you an opportunity to use your product catalog for paid advertising as well. Now, I'll caveat this, there can be some issues with this plugin from time to time when you're configuring it. So it's still worth having. It's still by far one of the best, but on occasion, depending on the version of software, and I refer back to the earlier point I was making, depending on your software version of your e-commerce website, in this case for WordPress and WooCommerce, it can be problematic if your software is not up to date, or indeed if it's not configured correctly, or indeed your Facebook business manager on your page isn't configured correctly. For instance, your website domain isn't verified, your page isn't verified, going through all the sort of basics to ensure that all the boxes are ticked. But certainly, by all means, the Facebook for WooCommerce is definitely a plugin that I would recommend as a great opportunity for your business. Facebook chat plugin, we looked at live chat earlier in the webinar as to why we would use it. Again, this is a great tool to have on your website. It shows up as a little plugin down the bottom right hand side. It gives customers visibility to engage with chat. They just click on it, off they go, they engage. Important to note that the customer has to be logged into their Facebook account, because then the chat plugin will actually just pick them up automatically as to who they are, and it'll show you as a business to say, well, okay, Darren McSherry has inquired about this product or has an inquiry today, and then off you go. You have that archive of the chats, you have that history. You may need to go and look about a suitable answer and engage with the customer accordingly. So it's a great tool, and it can be configured with brand colors. It can have preloaded responses there as well for chatbot, but certainly as a free plugin, it's certainly worth having. There are others like WhatsApp and others indeed in terms of paid platforms, but in terms of something that's just ready to go in the main, customers will use. Facebook chat plugin, certainly worth integrating with your site. Moving on to the next insight would be Monster Insights. And again, this goes a step further on Google Analytics. So what you'll have here is an integrated dashboard in your WordPress site, which will give you key statistics, and it does pull data from your Google Analytics. Now, your WordPress and WooCommerce will have reporting built in. Reporting, like any, will have reporting, like the Shopify as well, or Magento. They will have built-in reporting mechanisms, but what you're doing is you're building upon that again. So in this case, you would be integrating your Google Analytics dashboard. It would be giving you a single sign-in, and you would have full visibility, which is configurable to show various key performance indicators and reports all in your shop dashboard. So it's again, it's worth having. Knowledge is power, as I say, and it's the more you know about your customers and how your shop's performing, the better informed you're going to be to make those decisions. Moving on to number 6, we looked at SEO earlier on, and Yoast SEO, I showed you a snippet of information on how that works, the opportunities it presents, and this is a search engine optimization tool which allows you to optimize your navigation, so your home, your shop, your core navigation in terms of your e-commerce website. Equally, it gives you the opportunity to optimize your products individually by page, and it will give you, as some of you hopefully seen earlier on, a very straightforward system, which is a traffic light system, red, amber, green, and it gives you recommendations on how to fix problems. So a problem would be in red. Once you fix that, it moves to green. Then you move through the process of improvements on your SEO strategy using this tool, Yoast. There is a free version of it. There is a premium version of it, depending on where you are on the journey for your SEO. It's definitely worth looking at. And again, these plugins and these SEO tools, they're available throughout any e-commerce website provider you're going to. What I would say about SEO, whilst it is a case of investing money into SEO, but more importantly, in my opinion, it's more of an investment in time, because SEO is an ongoing process. It's a competitive process. It changes, it evolves, and to get the results that you want and need and expect, it does take time. It does take time. So I would look at it as an investment in time, firstly. So be committed to the strategy in terms of 6, 12, 18 months. Have your measurement plan in place, see the benchmarks, see the continuous improvement, and keep with it, because it's definitely worth. I'm stressing the point on SEO because I've seen businesses who have had great success with their SEO strategy. They've had great success with their Facebook and great success with the likes of Google paid search. So there's just three. I've seen this in the industry. I've helped businesses with this, and it's prioritizing where you can have the most impact to achieve your commercial objectives, and these would be core areas that I would certainly recommend. So coming to summary stage now, on near conclusion of this morning's webinar. We've looked at website speed and how vital that is to customer experience and online sales. We've looked at getting personal with your customers through the shopping experience, ensuring that it's personal, it's relevant, it's timely. We've also looked at the delivery strategy, which can make your business or can break you. So tread carefully with that. We covered some of the areas earlier on, some of the aspects to consider, to investigate, to develop in terms of your whole delivery strategy. We've looked at embracing customer reviews, and I know this can be a tricky one, but it's how you manage it. There's businesses who perhaps have shied away from customer reviews. I don't necessarily think that's the right strategy. I think it's how you manage that. Businesses are human. We're not perfect all of the time, but it presents an opportunity when things do go wrong. It gives the business an opportunity how to put it right. And I've seen that come into effect really, really well with businesses, with reviews, and their strategy and how to develop that towards commercial objectives. And we've seen earlier on about how that contributes to sales. Equally, if you ignore this, you bury your head in the sand, it will come back and bite you, in my experience. And I've seen that happen all too often in the past. Thankfully now, more and more businesses now are embracing customer reviews and seeing the opportunity for what it is. We looked at SEO there earlier on. I stayed a little bit of time on the SEO strategy, and I pointed out about investing time in an SEO strategy. It does take time because there's 6 facets, well 7 if you include the measurement strategy. If we say 7 facets to an SEO strategy, and really, those 7 facets that we covered earlier on, they won't deliver the outcomes and meet the objectives that your business needs unless you invest time into it. If anybody else tells you otherwise, that they can work miracles in 4 weeks, I would seriously question that and how they're going to achieve that. So invest time in your SEO strategy. And finally, live chat, not chatbot just yet. I would encourage more businesses to embrace the live chat mechanism, and tentatively with the chatbot, preloaded questions that are frequently asked questions. There's an opportunity there out of hours or when your businesses are in breaks, or there's skeleton staff, or there's sales periods, you're managing expectations accordingly. Not saying no to chatbot, I'm just saying with a pinch of salt, consider that strategy, and I would lean more towards live chat. I think chatbot presents an opportunity, but I'd be interested to watch this space to see how artificial intelligence develops more and more, because it is growing rapidly. So watch this space in that regard, and who knows, in 3, 6, 12 months time, I could be the other way around and saying chatbot is certainly the way to go, with live chat secondary to that. So thank you for everyone who attended this morning. If there's any further questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat box there to Amy. I'm happy to answer any other questions. Sarah shortly will be coming on to give you an insight to some of the support programs available through the college, and the resources and presentation and the follow-up thereafter. Amy, any further questions from any of the businesses this morning?
Yes, Darren. We have a couple of questions in there. Do you recommend getting a photographer in for the product images?
Okay, that's a great question. Yes, I would, on the basis of that you're not confident in doing your own photographs. Why I say that is, I know myself, all the Samsung phones, the Apple phones, they all have fantastic cameras. So if you've got the decent hardware to deliver photographs, and you've got the right environment, and you've got a degree of creativity, I would encourage businesses to try the photography themselves. That being said, if you don't have the hardware, you don't have the lighting or the environment for it, and maybe you're, creatively you want a photographer maybe to go with a bit more creative flair with that in terms of close-ups, image manipulation, and brightness and all of that, then product photography is worth investing in. So yes, I would say yes, it's worth getting a professional photographer, because your product, the visuals of your product on your e-commerce website does all the selling. So the visual of the product, it creates the desire, the aspiration, it's everything. So product photography is proven to help sales conversion. Obviously, you'll have other aspects of the product detail page, your pricing, delivery, some of the aspects we covered. But to answer your question, I wouldn't shy away from trying it yourself. But that being said, all things in an equal world, if you have the budget to do that, you can invest in it. I would certainly say yes, invest in your product photography. But what I would say is, when you're looking for photographers, look at because some photographers, maybe industry specific, maybe look at their portfolio. Look at if it's clothing, if it's giftware, if it's manufacturing, if it's whatever aspect your business or sector it is. Look at their portfolio. See, does that align with where you see your business? Do you like the work? Is it relevant for you? Have a look at your competitors. Have a look at not just local competitors, but look at regional, national, international businesses. Look at their photography, and see what the best practice is. You really want to have multiple photographs, as many as you can conceivably. I've seen many businesses that are varying from anything from 15, 20, right up to 30, 40, 50 photographs. Now, whether that scale and volume is appropriate for your business and product remains to be seen. If I had 15 or 20 good photographs, then I would see that as quality over quantity. Equally, throw video into the equation of a virtual tour of your product, a little clip uploaded to your e-commerce website. Again, that adds more weight. But to answer the question, in my opinion, is it worth investing in a photographer to do your photographs? I would say yes.
Great, Darren. Thank you very much. At the minute, we just have one more question, but again, if anyone wants any more questions, there's still time. So in terms of automated bot responses, would you have any recommended logical chat response flow systems that are hosted online?
That's a good question. In terms of, you just maybe qualify that with the business there. Is that regards in terms of software or provider? In terms of logical, just so I can get the context of that question again there, Amy, please.
Just want me to read it out to you again?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
In terms of automated bot responses, would you have any recommended logical chat response flow systems that are hosted online?
Well, basically with the paid providers, they will give you best practice. So effectively they will give you like schematics. So I would say like schematics is like a architectural context of a chat flow. So they will advise you on, okay, if you're going down you look at almost like a grid or a pyramid system. If you answer or ask certain questions, it'll take you down this route. If you digress into other questions or responses, it'll take you down another route. So there is a logical approach to that. I've seen logical schematics, logical setups that are set up as best practice to advise the business on, okay, the flow of the conversation, how to direct the conversation with preloaded answers and questions. So the chatbot following the logical approach, as I said earlier on, rubbish in, rubbish out, put good information in, manage the expectations. If you do it in that regard and you have that logical approach and you're that thorough with your answers and the questions, then there's certainly an opportunity to make that work. But that's primarily more on a paid service provider with chatbots, in my experience that I've seen. Facebook will offer some flexibility with that and loading questions and having some logical format to that. But to really explore that in its true depths, depending on your business needs and the volume of chats that you would engage with through your e-commerce website, perhaps looking at a free trial with one of the paid vendors might be more suitable.
Perfect. Yes, they just came back there to say it would be software for building the response, if that helps.
Software, I wouldn't be in a position to recommend anyone at the moment. I know there's third parties out there, but I'm kind of hesitant to endorse any one supplier. I am happy to liaise with this business to really just qualify their needs first and foremost, what industry sector they're in, the level of chats on their website, level of traffic. I'd rather perhaps qualify their needs where they are now, where they want to be, before I would perhaps recommend one vendor. Happy to take that chat offline, Amy, through the college if the business is interested, we can explore that one further.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's actually all the questions at the minute. So just following on to that, I think Sarah is going to talk about the support that we provide.
Thank you, Darren. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been frantically taking notes throughout that whole presentation. But I think I'm going to have to go back and watch it on our YouTube channel, on the previous webinar you did, because I just couldn't write fast enough. On that note, there will be a follow-up email sent out this afternoon, and there'll be links to the presentation, links to the YouTube recording, and some of the additional resources that Darren mentioned throughout the presentation. So at the bottom of the emails, one more thing, will be a link to an evaluation. Could you please click on that link and send us some feedback? It's very important, and it helps us build how we're going to move forward with the series. So the next webinar in this program is the Instagram Reels for Retail, and that's next Thursday. There's a link for that to register for that in the email also. So I just wanted to quickly mention some of the other programs that we have available. So for the upskilling and training, we have the Skills Focus program, and for one-to-one mentoring for up to 60 hours of help is the Innovate Us program, and both are available through DFE. To move on from that, on the innovation escalator, as we would talk about, there would be the innovation voucher, and this is through Invest NI. But there is important just to realise that there's a VAT element to that one, whereas the others I briefly mentioned are free. So feel free to contact us at our email address, betterbusiness@src.se.uk, and we can look through what your specific requirements are and see if we can tailor the support for you. So really just want to say thank you very much. We've taken up quite enough of your time this morning. Thank you for attending. Please complete the evaluation and send it back, and I will send through the follow-up email as soon as we can. So just from me, Darren, Amy, Margaret and Ashlyn in the background also, thank you very much for attending this, and good morning. Bye.